Now, I really do like my Tesla. I enjoy driving it. It's kind of a fun car. There's a lot of cool things about it. I like the fact that it's electric. That's actually one of the most appealing things, but it's comfortable to drive and it has a certain fun factor to it. And the screen is kind of neat and everything. And yeah, it still takes some getting used to and some things about it that are a little different. But overall, I really do like it. But we are in an evolutionary stage here. And while I'm not an early adopter to it, because I've only had it for 2 years, I am a relatively new adopter in this technology that's still evolving. And you know, you see and hear things sometimes where you kind of stop and gives you that moment of pause where you go, am I doing the right thing or not? I mean, I heard about my friend who took, you know, a while to have some door panels replaced on the car when he had an accident with it. I've seen several cars getting towed for various reasons. I don't know what the reasons are, but you see them once in a while on the back of a flatbed getting towed somewhere. I saw a guy with a flat tire the other day, and it was that moment, yeah, you know, you don't have a spare, so that's always back of mind, a concern. You can call Tesla and they will come and service it in a mobile sense, but you know, there's some things in there. And then you hear about, there was a guy who posted something to my video about replacing the 12-volt battery, and he said he had the same problem with his 12-volt battery, but the problem grew into a bigger problem because then the car wouldn't start. He couldn't get the car to go into function. There was some other factor that had to go there, and he wound up having to get the car towed to the dealership in order to get it repaired. And those kinds of things, you kind of go, what the heck, man? Why is it so hard sometimes? And then, of course, there was a story about the 2 Teslas that caught fire. They were older model cars that were charging in the garage overnight, and they one of them caught fire, and both of them wound up burning, and it was a huge problem. And you kind of have that moment where you think, am I doing the right thing here? Am I, you know, using an electric car, especially a Tesla, is it the right thing to be doing? And then you stop and think, yeah, this is where the future goes in terms of getting away from gas cars. And if you think about gas cars in their early days, you know, these cars really had a lot of issues. And even into the 60s and 70s, you know that there were cars that had a lot of problems, right? There were still cars, you know, the next evolutionary step, and the cycle would continue. And every so often the cars would have issues, and you'd hear about them, and they break down, and they do this, and they do that. They started putting catalytic converters in, and that caused other problems. You know, all these things. It's not uncommon for the next evolutionary phase to have problems and have issues. So you kind of have that moment when you realize, no, this is the next evolutionary phase, and things are moving in a certain direction. Europe has adopted electric cars pretty extensively, and there's a lot going on with them. And here in the United States, there's a new plan to be fully electrified in this country, or have most cars moving that way by 2030, I believe the date is. And President Biden had a summit recently where he invited several automakers and the union that represents the automakers there at a signing ceremony where he was doing some ceremonial things and talking about the future of electric in the United States. And interestingly, Tesla was left out of that. And it's not surprising in a way, because when you have the United Auto Workers there, Tesla doesn't use the unionized workers in their plants because primarily their plants are automated. So there's a whole contentious thing there. So I get it. But it wasn't really a snub as much as it was a directional thing where you realize that in order to move the rest of the car companies that way, you're going to have to embrace the workers. That's going to be part of it too. So anyway, the electric revolution is coming, or a car revolution is coming. Could turn out that electric is not the best choice and maybe something else is. Or it could turn out that the battery systems we use today are not the best choice and something else will be. It could be electric with a different battery system in it. That's the question that I think I have the most. And I look at the batteries and I think, you know, with the lithium and some of the other chemicals and elements that are inside the batteries, you have to wonder a little bit, are we doing the right things by the environment in the way that we use our batteries and our battery technology? And the answer is probably not. There was a story a week or so ago about several billionaires, very wealthy people, who wanted to purchase some land in Greenland in order to basically mine it for some of the elements that are needed for this battery technology. And that's kind of crazy. You know, you're trying to save the environment by destroying the environment. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but that, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, maybe it works out. I'm not sure. In the meantime, Tesla filed a patent to recover the lot of retired batteries and be able to reuse it in other batteries and new batteries. So there's something to be said for that too, because that technology to be able to make that change could be huge in terms of moving the battery technology along. I also believe that the battery technology itself is about to undergo a fundamental shift. with all these cars moving into the electric realm, you have to wonder if at some point there's going to be a huge battery revolution, if there's going to be something other than these lithium-ion batteries. Maybe it'll be stones, maybe it'll be some sort of metal discs. I don't know. There's a lot of competing technologies that are trying to become the next big thing. One of them will probably be it at some point. It's just a question of when and how it'll get there. So at the moment, we're still trying to figure that out. But you know, that makes it kind of interesting. And that leads me around to thinking about all the cars that are going to be entering the market in the next little while. So there are some number of cars on the market today that are in various price points. But over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a large number of cars that are going to be in the market that are going to be available for consumers. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes and kind of talk through some of these cars and what they have and what's good about them. I'm going to break it into categories. So first I'm going to talk about cars that are in that luxury category, something that's like in that $60,000 plus range, that's really unaffordable for most people. And then I'm going to talk about the cars that are below that are more affordable to everyone, and when they're going to be available and what they're thinking as far as price and mileage. And if it's available today, that's great. I just wanted to kind of give you perspective. Thinking about it for me personally, like I said, I love my Tesla, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be driving a Tesla forever. The next car may not be a Tesla. It could be, but I'm not sure. Now, one other thing to consider before I even talk about this is these cars are great. You know, the electric cars are really phenomenal. But until there's an infrastructure that really allows you to charge the cars easily when you're on the road, it's not going to fly. It's just not going to work out. So consider that for a moment when you think about this, because right now Tesla has a charging network that is really vast, and you can drive from any point to any point in the United States and also in Europe and in a large part of Asia without having to worry about charging, because you can go to different charging stations. And they've simplified it so much you can just plug in and charge. Now, there are several companies that are out there that are building charging networks, and then some of the like gas stations, the big gas companies are planning on putting electric stations in their gas stations and so forth. Now, whether they can get to faster charging, that's another issue, right? Because right now the charging is relatively slow. The goal would be if I can charge my car to be on the road in a shorter amount of time, same or shorter amount of time than I can put gas in my car, then I've won, right? That's kind of the trade-off there. That moment when I can do it faster, then I've won. So Tesla is continuing to improve that network, right? They have a network of you can go from here to here with being able to charge along the way. And also they've increased the charging capacity at these stations. So, you know, when they're 150 kilowatt hours, it takes something like, 30 to 40 minutes to charge to be on your way. When you increase it to 250 to 300 kilowatt hours, it's not quite linear, but it's about half the time. So you're out of there in, 20 minutes or so, right? So you continue to increase that capacity through the charging, and then you can be out of there faster. So that's one way you could do it. Battery swapping may be another way you could do it. Not sure. So Tesla's got the network. Ford is apparently building a network. GM, which has announced they're going to be moving all of their cars to electric, is trying to consolidate several different networks. So they've got the networks they're looking at where they're going to take like Electrify America and allow all these different networks to work together, and they would have a simplified app to allow you to just plug in and charge and be on your way, so you don't have to do any extra effort. So, that's important, right? These are important things when you look at these cars and what they do. Tesla right now is the only one who has the already comprehensive network. So Tesla is a very appealing option just for that reason. Now, Tesla is starting to talk about opening up their network to other cars. Hey, that's great. If you have the network already, you could. Now, how will that affect Tesla drivers? I don't know. If you can get in and out faster, it may not affect us at all. That may not be a problem. So it's sort of a trade-off, but they're trying to figure out how to make this better, because there's a great way for them to make money on the charging too. They charge whatever per kilowatt hour, and they're making money. So they're making it on Tesla owners. If you charged a little bit more for non-Tesla owners, you could pad your bottom line quite a lot. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on and talk about the different kinds of cars that are coming and see what they look like. As we look at the luxury price point, we realize that there's a lot of cars that are currently available. Some of them are really stylish, have the nice appointments inside, some of the things that people look for when they're looking for a luxury car. Now, these are way outside of my price range, but they're beautiful, and some of them are really stylish, and some of them have some really slick features and very sporty in some cases. But overall, what you're seeing is that they're developing cars that meet a broader base. So you've got bigger cars, you've got more sporty cars, you've got more power, you've got more this. These things that actually drive the market to a large degree. These more expensive cars really are sort of the test cases for what you can build for the future. So it's kind of cool that they're doing this. And as you look at it, you're starting to see much larger and more diverse vehicles. It's not all the small cars anymore. And that's really what's going to make the difference in terms of actually developing something for the future. So as we look ahead into the more affordable range, we're looking at cars that are available now. Now, the first cars I'm going to show you are the Teslas, and I'm not going to talk about those specifically because we have a pretty good understanding of them. We know there are 4 models, we know they're in the price point range asterisk that we're looking for. For the rest of the cars, what I'm going to do is show the car, what the price point is, and how many miles the range should be expected to be. What you're seeing is there's a lot of crossovers still available and smaller cars, but you're starting to see slightly bigger cars pop up into the market. So as you look at these, you realize, hey, that one's a little bit bigger, it's a little more stylish, it has a little more room. And you're starting to see bigger and bigger cars pop onto the market. And you're starting to see some other names that maybe you don't recognize, cars that are unusual or different. And it's kind of interesting because there's other people entering the marketplace. Now, specifically with the Nissan Leaf that I show here, there are several different models of it that have different price points and different ranges. So keep that in mind. They're one of the companies that allows you to customize the car a little bit. But like Polestar, we've never heard of them before. And the VW ID3 is actually in this price range that's actually affordable. Next up are the cars that are coming in 2021 or 2022. And what we're seeing is cars that start to, again, extend the idea a little bit further. We get to bigger cars. We get to a little bit more range on the cars. These cars are starting to grow a little bit. And this is really kind of fascinating. It's kind of neat the way these cars are all coming up, and you're starting to see more and more cars that make the whole competitive landscape more interesting. These cars could easily take on some of the cars that we have that are ICE cars today. I also realize that I'm not showing you every single car that's out there. It's a pretty good range of cars, and you're starting to see some bigger cars and some things come up. And some of these companies haven't really put all their information out there yet. You know, they're planning on a car in 2022, but they haven't gotten there yet. As far as what's available beyond 2023, mostly it's still concept cars. So we have like the Chevy Silverado and the Ford Explorer. These will be interesting takes into the marketplace that can get going a little further. We have the Neo and the Honda Prologue. We have the Mazda and the Jeep Magneto. And we have the Dodge Ram and the VW ID Buzz. Any of these could be really interesting cars. Now, as far as other cars go that are in the marketplace, there was something interesting that XPEV company, the XPeng company that I showed you a little while ago, has actually made a flying car that's really kind of a clever idea, because what they're showing you is how the independent motors and independent batteries can make the car move. And while the flying car may not take off, literally, it is an interesting concept. And then we can talk about Toyota. Toyota has a really interesting sort of mix of things that they're doing. It's kind of strange. Toyota is in the market and out of the market. They're using Tesla, they're not using Tesla. It's a weird thing that they're doing, and it's not really clear where they're going to net out. But they have put out a concept car called the BZ4X. That's the first car they want to introduce into the marketplace that'll be the fully electric. Now, whether they actually do it and when that actually happens is still debatable, because as I said, Toyota is working with legislators to try and change the rules so they don't have to create an EV. And then you've got GM. GM has a whole other idea for getting into cars, so let's watch their commercial.
Change. You can resist it, be left behind, or embrace it and move forward.
We're driving it
everywhere.
We emit optimism, not exhaust.
We plug in our vehicles as naturally as we charge our phones.
We don't judge cars by the rev of an engine,
but by the hum of progress. We
are Generation E.
United.
not by age,
but by the desire
For smart, clean, and safe.
To also be fun, easy,
And powerful.
And our power
comes from this.
Ultium.
A battery that charges fast.
Runs long.
It fits everyone.
Because when it comes to this all-electric future,
Nobody
will be left out.
And that changes everything.
The electric future starts now.